All right. What's up? My apologies for the delay. We'll let everybody jump in. What up, Nikki? Can you hear me? I'm gonna wait for Nikki to get in. Can you hear me, Nikki?
I can hear you. I can. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you fine.
What's going on?
Not a much. Is it like super blurry? Hold on, I'm about to go on Facebook because my phone preview was super blurry.
Right when I was about to get on live, then my computer froze up.
See, I was like, I checked my stuff earlier, so hopefully I'm good.
So yeah, we'll see. So you got me a little interested. You poked me a little bit talking about. I bet y'all scared to talk about this.
Where's the volume down on my computer? Shoot, hold on. What am I doing?
Right when I was about to get on live.
Hold on. Okay, sorry. Okay, you said I did.
Yeah, talking about. I bet y'all scared to talk about this or something that you said.
Well,
I ain't scared to talk about nothing.
I know you're not. I know that like I think that the general consensus, I think between men and women conversations, a lot of men do not want to have that conversation.
Maybe in gym, but
we've had a conversation before, and it generally gets a little heated. So I'm trying to get the right spot.
With this particular post that you put, I think there's room for clap back on this.
I mean, we about to find out, right?
I got a couple. I got a couple different directions I can go with this because, I feel a certain type of way.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's see. We got a couple of people watching. Lottie Dottie asked if we was on Zoom, which we are.
Did I not put the number in there?
Password. Yeah, it's in the page.
Okay.
It's on the very first thing. I'll put it on my post. It's in this post. So the password and the meeting ID number. It's definitely easy to get to. So we will wait until.
Okay. I'm gonna wait for about 2 more minutes and then I'm gonna get it. I don't do a whole bunch of waiting on people. I said I don't do a whole bunch of waiting on people.
No, we not, but it's 9:05. We give people time to get their coffee and get seated.
Yeah, a little bit. It's 9 o'clock. You should be getting your wine right now. Get your wine, get your beer.
You so right. Look, I'm on time, so we let the people have some time. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what was okay? So the issue is many men see sexual abuse as a violent, penetrative rape, and exclude the groping and molesting and coercion, which is true. Similar to how white people think they're not racist because they're not screaming the N-word in your face, but they'll grip their purse when they walk past black men. All right. So shoot. Fuck it. It's 9:06. We gave him a minute.
That's right. Okay. So where is your focus of this post? Is it on the parallel between racism and sexual molestation, or is it just the whole sexual molestation or the excluding of certain activities that people don't include in the repertoire of what would qualify as sexual misconduct? Hey,
your first statement was basically where my parallel is between the two.
Yeah, what was your focus of the post? Give me your thoughts or your focus on the post.
Right. Obviously, I didn't make it, so I saw it and I read it and I was like, oh, okay, which is very true. And I feel very passionate about both sides. I'm very passionate about what is quote unquote right and wrong for behavior of men towards women, women in general, women in return. but also in regard to like what's right, what's right versus what's wrong, and white people clutching their fucking purses is just the dumbest shit ever. So in seeing how asinine it is for white people to clutch their purses when they say that they don't have a problem with black people is about as fucking asinine as saying that it's not inappropriate, it's not sexual assault, it's not, crossing the boundaries, it's not rape if it isn't a violent act of something. So,
Okay.
people can dismiss racism easily, like they can dismiss, sexual assault, rapey like behavior, as I call it.
Yeah, rapey. Okay, hold on. Okay, this is the question I'm gonna have back to you, Nikki, and then I'm gonna get Stacy to jump in here. And I'm going to use the parallel as the basis of the conversation first. Do you believe that all racists are created equal?
Do I believe that all racists are created equal?
Meaning, do you put a distinction between this racist and that racist, or are they all the same to you?
I think their foundation is the same. I think there are levels at which they are um, deeply seated in their hate or their dislike, whichever side of the fucking balance beam they fall into. Their core foundation is still hate, but I think that some are worse than others, but they're all still shit. They all are created equally in disgusting hate. So yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because at
Well,
the end
I
of the
can
day,
see, and that makes it easy because I can fundamentally I disagree with you on the baseline of it. So now I can see how we're gonna have difference and disagree in
okay,
certain areas. But let me before we go to that, Stacy, jump in. Tell me what you think, and I'm gonna ask you the same question. And
all
we
right.
we gonna start with the racist side of it. Are all racists the same?
Of course not. Like, y'all can hear me, right?
No, that wasn't the question you asked. You asked if they were created
And then
equal.
I
They're not
I
the same.
elaborated in my elaboration. That's
Well,
how I.
that's not fair. I got a more clear question than she did.
Well, no, no, no. But I,
Oh,
I think the second time I asked her the question is more relevant to the parallel that we're making in terms of molestation and rape. If you look at the first part of
yeah, I saw
the
that.
post, then
Yeah.
this is it's kind of what it's saying to me, especially when you use the analogy of um, someone gripping their purse. I don't look at them as a racist in the same type of way as um, as someone who
Well,
who won't give me a job or who
well, what
I
I
think
was
there's
gonna
differences.
say is
Denied
like,
to be dismissive of, to be complicit in, to display some types of behavior of. It all, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, just because that same person isn't screaming the N word in your face, does that mean that they run around saying it at home? Possibly not in that scenario, but it's the same fucking token. It's the same. It's the same acting like white people aren't racist because they have black friends, because they have black fucking kids, because they have a black partner. No, you still racist. Just like rape is rape. Just like sexual assault is sexual assault. So for me, that's
Again, I fundamentally disagree, but I'm gonna let Stacy jump in here. We gonna get to that. You ain't gotta worry about it. We're gonna get to it.
go for it. Go for it.
okay. So my thoughts on that are, racism is absolutely bred of hate and ignorance. Sometimes more ignorance than hate. Um, I don't think that all racists are created equal. I think that I think that all humans are created equal. We've all got the ability and the options and the choices that we can make that affect our walk. Um, to me, with racism, it really has much more. I mean, the fundamental ideals are definitely relevant, because if you get enough of them folks with some minor fundamental ideals together, they'll start acting more boldly. But what I was getting at is really the difference for me is how willing are you to act on what it is that you're thinking? How willing are you for you to filter yourself? Because quite frankly, we can think anything we want, but the way that we act and engage with those around us is really um, more important to me. Like, you don't have to like me, you don't have to like black people, but you need to treat me with respect. I'd like for you to love everybody as your brother or sister or whatever. If you're not, at the very least, I'm gonna need you to treat me with some basic human decency, no matter how you feel, because all that other stuff is your mess. That's not my problem. So I think that a person who is bigoted, um, there's definitely, I would much rather encounter somebody who would clutch their purse as opposed to somebody that would act in violence on those same fears. So.
And yeah, and I'm kind of with you. Let
I don't
Number
like none of
one,
them.
intent. I'm not with you in all areas, but I'm certain that I'm not. But from the standpoint, intent means a lot to me. Everything's not created equal. And also not only intent, but your actions play a different. You being, I'm sorry, for you to be a racist in your mind and racist in thought and speech is still not the same as you being racist in actions, whether it is denying person a job, whether it's dragging a black man down the back of the street and killing him and hanging him. I mean, the actions are different than just the mindset. Now, are either one of them good?
But it starts with the mindset. The mindset's all the same.
I don't think it always starts with the mindset. Or
The mindset is the same.
but I don't. Okay, so follow me here. I'm not saying I don't believe that the mindset will lead to you dragging somebody behind the back of a pickup truck just because you
Well, no,
initially take.
everybody that's curious about death doesn't want to go out and kill somebody. There's a big difference. But I know what you're saying. I don't think that all people who have racist who are racist are going to go out and kill somebody. I don't think that all people who are
So
racist
I'm gonna make a real bad. I'm gonna make a tough example. But dang, this is what I'll say. Remind you. Let me preface this. Both are extremely bad. Both of them should be punishable by some form of police punishment or whatever. Law enforcement should step in either case. What I'm about to say. A person who watches child pornography versus a person who actually rapes a child, they're both bad, but are they equally bad? No, they're not. And will one absolutely lead to another? That I don't know. But what I'm saying is I put more weight on the action than I do just the intent. I'm gonna get to you in a second, Denise. Go ahead, jump in, Stacey.
I disagree with you on the child pornography thing because child pornography 100% exists because there's a demand for it. And so if you are watching it, then you are just as guilty as the people that are producing it. Just as guilty. There's never like I can't. I am not someone that can make a pass for any kind of pedophilia myself. Like
Again,
even in thought, that's stuff that you should 100% keep to yourself forever and ever and ever. Not you personally,
right.
but someone who has those thoughts and things they need to keep. That's not in my opinion.
I took the time to preface what I said before I said it on purpose because I knew that type of kickback. And I said both should go to jail. There should be consequences for law enforcement for both of them. But
I'm disagreeing with you.
Okay, I got you. I understand it. For me, they're both bad, but they're not the same. Hold on just a second, Nikki. Denise, jump in real quick. ATR.
So my thoughts are the thoughts of the person who's watching the porn or the who's not hiring the Black person or person of color. It's the same thought process as the person who's actually taking, and you're just one step away from being that person. Mine is very.
You're breaking up, Denise.
Chopping. Okay, I didn't know if it was just me. Yeah, you chopping up some.
She froze up.
Okay, we lost her. We're gonna let you. We get you when you come back in. Tierra, Nikki, what was you gonna say, Nikki? And then I'm gonna jump to Tierra.
I mean, the biggest difference between the two, and maybe I should say the biggest difference, but one of the most significant differences between two people is the person who's watching child pornography versus the person who is participating in child pornography. One, they're both participating, but two, it's opportunity. You're only caught when you get caught, and maybe not all people who watch pornography partake in the act of actually, sexually assaulting a child, but that's opportunity. Given opportunity, they have the makings to be able to. And I mean, if you really get into the pathology of people, it's just a matter of opportunity. It's a matter of emotional state. It's a matter of, can I get away with this? And typically we do. You get away with everything until you get caught. So that's the only difference is opportunity, in my opinion. So I don't see them in the same light because they may not both be, you know, let's just keep it 100, fucking a child. But you might as well go on ahead if you're watching somebody else go ahead and do it, because you are complicit in that action.
And you're
you
in
can't
on
say,
the sensitivity of that point. Now, let me
and that's
jump.
just about as equal as somebody saying, I'm not racist because I have a black friend.
If it was a murder, if it was, say the subject wasn't child pornography and it was murder, would you feel the same way?
Depends on the situation of the murder.
So someone who watches or who thinks about murdering someone and watches a murder, they are just as guilty or just as bad as someone who actually murders someone.
No, because I've watched murder shows, but that doesn't make me interested in wanting to murder a person. I've watched murder on television. That doesn't make me want to murder a person. I've wanted to kill somebody for like 2 seconds, but that would never be like that. You know what I'm saying? You can have those brief thoughts, but no, there's a difference in like, oh, this person pissed me off so bad, I want to, you know, run this car off the road versus, oh, I'm finna run this bitch off the road. That's what we doing right now. There's a big difference in those two people. There's difference in something like pornography or racism when you have a literal disease. It's an illness, a fucking brain chemistry illness. There's something wrong.
I think I'm just on your hot spot right now.
Murder is not that. To me, murder is not a brain chemistry. Now, if you a serial murder, we got an issue. But just going and killing somebody, you might have some crazy ass problems. But that's not the same to me.
Okay, let me jump, because see, and that's what I'm finding. See, and I'm going to say that I feel that your argument is inconsistent based upon the side subject that I use. So whether if I talk about child porn, oh fuck them, but if I talk about murder, then it could be the same issue. The issue that I'm talking about is
an emotional response. Fucking a child is a chemically brain. There's a brain chemical imbalance in there somewhere with your transmitters.
I'm not even sure about that.
But I mean, it doesn't take a lot of research to find out. There's something chemically wrong with somebody with a disease like that. So there's a difference in a disease versus the difference in me emotionally responding and me just going and wilding out and shooting somebody. That's some fuck shit. That's horrible.
Someone who says you believe in the murder could say the same. Let me pause. I'm gonna put a pause on this real quick. I'm gonna get to you for a second, Stacey. Tierra, let me jump in with you real quick. Did you see the post that was on the page?
I was reading over it to make sure I understood where we're going tonight.
Okay, so yeah, it's funny. I like this because we haven't even actually jumped into the subject yet. We're just using the parallels to examine how we actually feel. Do you believe that all racists are created equal? Do you believe that a little bit of racist or a big racist is all the same? It doesn't make a difference.
Yes, I believe it's all the same. I mean, you racist. Well, let me caveat to that. So, because a lot of people will turn this page and say Black people can be racist, but Black people cannot be racist because we are not oppressors. We don't have power to be racist. We can be prejudiced, but we don't have the power to be racist. But if we're talking from a dominant culture, oppressor, white people in power, it's not no minor racism. It's just racism. It's not a level, you know. I think it's racist. I mean, I don't think it's any levels to that.
Okay. I don't know. Did Denise jump out? Denise, I'm gonna try to get her back in once. Denise, are you back in? Okay. Hold on. Time out first. What are you cooking?
Some cabbage, y'all. I'm embracing my inner and last time I cooked it, my dad said it's too watery. He was like, you don't need to put water in there. So I didn't really put no water in there this time, y'all. And I feel like a grandma, my inner grandma.
Now you still a little bit choppy, but I'm gonna see if we can hear you a little bit. But go ahead if you remember what you were saying before you got cut off. Do you remember?
Well, I do have a new thought. I don't know if this thought, but I think it's different. I think there's a difference between you thinking about killing somebody and then you going on the internet and looking up ways to do it. That is
Right.
after you have so many ways
how to do it.
You probably might start taking some steps to go to your local, Lowe's or Home Depot and getting supplies or whatever people do when they want to kill folks. Or
so you're saying that there are levels. You're saying
it's pre-contemplation. It's pre-contemplation.
If you trying to put a price on somebody's head and you start asking some people, you start asking around, you probably going to make that happen. You're probably going to press play on that.
But so big picture, you're saying that there are levels.
The stages
I think
that's
the equivalent of watching out for it. Looking for someone to put a hit on somebody and looking up ways to kill somebody is the equivalent of watching it. Eventually, you're probably going to do it.
Stacey, I want you to jump in, but what I'm putting focus on, she just, no matter, I don't know if she looked at it that way, but she is admitting that there are levels to this. Do you understand where I'm coming from with that?
I hear what you're saying, but I think really what she's addressing is, and Nikki kind of touched on it a little bit, is that there's stages of change, is what we call it in the psych field, and you've got the pre-contemplative. And that's when you're not even thinking about it. There's nothing, you got the contemplative where you're thinking, okay, well, there might be something, and then you got the preparation and the planning, and then you got the maintenance, the active, the anyway.
So
it varies, but if they're in
smoking weed means you're automatically going to be a meth head.
That's the stupidest shit ever. You make the worst.
But no. Hold on. Let me explain what I'm saying. It sounds like to me that she is saying that it is a gateway. So if you think this way, it will eventually lead up to the action.
I didn't say that at all.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
I didn't say that at all.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but there's different things. There's like people can think about what ifs without actually going into the pre-contemplative and putting themselves in the steps where they're, how would I go about doing this? When you're dealing with suicide, for example, one of the things you ask a person if they say, man, I want to die, is, do you have a plan? Because that's how you figure out where they are in the process. If they just saying it and they're just talking out their rear, they're just saying it out of emotion, like Nikki was saying, there's no plan, there's no reason for people around them to be concerned about them anticipating taking the next steps. But if you ask them, do you have a plan? Which is something people are uncomfortable asking, by the way, but don't be scared to ask that.
Okay.
If you tell them, I see where you're going. If you ask them, do you have a plan? And they have a plan. They have obviously thought more about this beyond just thinking about, this is an option. It's an option that is now actually on the table because they're considering how to achieve that thought. There's a difference between having a thought and thinking about the pathway to achieve that thought.
But again, even with suicide, thinking about it, having plans is not actually worse than committing it. Am I missing something here?
Listen, there's stops along the way where you can intervene and prevent these types of things from happening. Now, okay. I want to come back. I want to circle back around to something that Nikki mentioned earlier when you were like, well, what's the difference between somebody who watches murder and somebody who watches child porn?
Okay.
And again, it goes to the difference is child porn involves minors. Right away, that you're looking at kids, and that's never okay. Now, if you're watching somebody, like if you're watching Law and Order or whatever, all those are actors. Those are adults, or those are young people that are actors with consenting adults that are helping to guide their process. And so this is a much more controlled environment. There is nobody being exploited or abused for someone who engages in watching child porn. The reason why it's the same as someone who does is because it is just as much exploitative. It's just as abusive. And these are minors. These are children. Like, that there is abuse happening and you're watching anyway because of whatever reason that you got in your head. And that's not right.
Sure.
That's not right.
And I definitely, of course, I'm not saying it's the same. And I have a gift of really focusing in on the parallel versus the action. And that's why I kind of use extreme measures to see where our baselines are. But of course, no, I agree with that 100%, but I use that for a larger point. Rhea, can you hear me? Hi. So let me ask you, Rhea, did you see the posts that we're talking about?
No.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm gonna read it so you and Ivory can jump in, and then I'm have Tierra jump back in as well, and I'm move around on this because and then I don't want to get too stuck on murders and suicide stuff like that, because then we ain't gonna have enough time to make your point. So okay, so this is what the post says, and you can look at it on the page as well. By the way, share this page, share it out, invite people. We got a lot of people coming in lately, and I enjoy that. So the issue, all right, now I'm reading the post. Okay, the issue is many men see sexual abuse as violent, penetrative rape and exclude the groping and molesting and coercion, similar to how people think they're not racist because they're not screaming in your face, but they'll grip their purse when they walk past Black men. I just want to back up, and I'm gonna kind of open this up, and then I'm gonna start kind of going around like that. How this post, the level of truth that it has, how true would you say it is? How real? How much do you agree with this post overall?
I think it's very true, because there's so many different forms. How do you quantify saying this is abuse and this is not abuse? That's assault. That is not assault. If someone does something inappropriate to you, that's a blanket term in order to understand like any circumstance, because something else comes up, and such as like groping, and you don't acknowledge it as that person still needs justice. That person on a legal level still has to be indicted somehow, some way. So that's just a legal term, but everyone knows what's happening. And I think it's very interesting to put it in comparison to racism, because there's different types. Because what we see, like what everyone acknowledges, is like rape penetrative, that's overt. But there's more subtle ways. It can go verbal, it can go any other way. So acknowledging it all, you have to just look at the different forms. So I do agree, like there are different forms that exist. That's just my perspective on it.
Okay, so this post is true.
Mm-hmm.
And it you're saying it lends perspective that we should pay attention to it in this type of way more than we do. Is that how you feel about it?
Yes. Instead of just looking at everyone has to look at the bigger picture on what people are saying about this. Because if we're focusing on all of course you need to focus on details, but if you're focused on the very minuscule stuff and not considering what it's meaning, it's wrong. That's the point that people are trying to make, instead of trying to pinpoint and try to poke holes in everything. It's either wrong, like there's all the gray areas, but if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Okay. I got you. Ivory, jump in. She's like, huh?
No, I was just thinking. I don't want to say this.
Did you see the post? Did you see the post, or did you hear me repeat it? Okay.
I seen the post. I heard you repeat it. I mean, it makes sense in kind of, I don't want to say a common sense kind of way. But pretty much like, yeah, it sucks if somebody follows me in the store. That can be racism. It sucks in a way where I might cuss underneath my breath and go back to my car and say, oh man, that sucked. That was crazy. Is that the same as somebody not giving me a job? No. Is it the same as the police stopping me and making me, get out of my car or putting handcuffs on me? I mean, no, it's not the same thing. In the same sense, as bad as it sounds, there is a difference between somebody groping you as a kid, which really sucks, right? That sucks. But it's the difference between that and being raped, like those still are not the same thing. So maybe I'm saying I disagree. I don't know. I'm just saying they both suck, but they're not the same.
I got you. Tierra, jump back in real quick.
what I think what we're doing is we're compartmentalizing everything. But the bottom line is abuse, racism, racism. You can talk about the different levels of abuse. You can talk about the different kinds of abuse. But at the end of the day, it's abuse. You can talk about the levels of racism, systemic, overt, subtle. But at the end of the day, it's racism. So we can compartmentalize everything in life. But the base of it is still at its core abuse. And the base of it is a core racism.
And this is me as the sole man on this. It's currently a problem. Is that correct? This is still a problem that's being overlooked. Is that what I'm hearing?
Far as with Black men or Black community, or
forget about Black and white. As far as sexual abuse and people saying, well, I ain't raping nobody, but these other things, the groping,
because we section things off as a hierarchy.
Yeah, a violation is a violation. An assault is an assault. Something I didn't ask you to do that you've done to me is a violation to me. And when it comes to a body, there is no black. It is black or white. It is literally just that.
I'm about to give you my male perspective on that in just a second. But first, Nikki, I want you to jump back in as far as just because you brought the post up, so I want to make sure that we're going in the direction that you saw when you initially proposed this. Go ahead, ask a question to everyone else as far as, just ask a question or, give some feedback on that.
Well, it sounds as though a majority of the women that are in here kind of have the same consensus. I think that everybody does feel that there's clearly different levels within operation at which we may misbehave or at how we do things, but when it comes to, inappropriate sexual behavior, being swept under the rug, being socialized, being normalized, being accepted, being justified, it's pretty disgusting for us. So then when I saw that meme come through, that quote come through, and it compared that to, the ridiculousness of, clutching the purse. As a woman, I know how that feels. And it feels ridiculous for men or for women to defend those actions because they're not physically raping you, holding you down, violently penetrating you. He just slapped your ass. He just grabbed your titty. He just kissed you. I mean, y'all know each other. It was only on the cheek, but I didn't ask you to do that. And it gets swept under the rug so often. We don't make us think about it because we don't want to be them girls either. We've been told our whole life to just and it's the same bullshit as me allowing my white family members to talk sideways, about Black people or brown people or Asian people or gay people or anybody else. I'm not gonna let them do that in my presence. They get cut off. I'm not gonna let men in my life have those types of behaviors. They get cut off. But culture has allowed both of those things to take place. And if we calling shit out, we got to call them both out. It's the same things we've been talking about these last couple of weeks, And it's okay to change, man. We got to fucking grow up at some point, and these conversations are necessary. But for us to heal as people and grow as people, we have to be heard, like we do. And intention is very important because I think we do understand a lot of the times the intention isn't to necessarily be violating or hurtful or harmful in some of these groping, situations, whatever, that people might pass off as not that big of a deal, but they are. If somebody said that's a big deal, then it is.
Okay, so somebody else jump in, because see, these are things. It's one of those things to where if I'm not the one doing it, then I'm probably not aware that it happens as much as you would. How much does this happen that most men are just not aware of?
So many times, like just going through elementary school,
going through junior high, high school, being a grown ass woman in the club, getting her ass, gross. We don't even know who did it, and it's just the most violating thing ever. I mean, being in school, I had a boy grab my vagina. I went and told, and they did nothing. Nothing. So, do you think that same boy stopped at just grabbing my vagina?
Opportunity.
No, no, he did not. I guarantee you. So when we don't take these things serious, it just escalates. Oh, I can grab girls by their ass. I can just grab titties. I can do this. I can do that. They're not going to stop at just the grab. It's just going to continue to grow because it's not being nipped in the bud. Just like with the racism. Oh, it's okay to I just had somebody follow me around the store. And I realized I had to stop and ask them. I said, hold on, I have been normalizing, this whole thing has woke me up. I have been normalizing being followed around the store to the point of accepting it and still buying from them. I'm like, no, hell no, cut that shit up. I said, do you think that I'm going to steal? I'm going to ask you straight up. Do you think that I'm going to steal? Because I want you to sit with that thought. I want you to sit with that idea. And I want you to ask yourself why you think that. We have to cut that shit off. Now, if she continues to follow people around the store, that's on her body. But I addressed it. I'm not going to just walk away, not say nothing. I'm not going to just continue to buy. No, you can't get my money. Granted, I want to spend $3.99. I want to spend the money I might have to spend somewhere else. But we have to acknowledge every little thing because if we don't, it just grows. We have to acknowledge it. If not, I mean, we just have to.
The same shit gonna keep happening.
Okay. Somebody else jump in. How do we oh, hold on. Let me re-ask a question. Anybody jump in. Post Me Too movement, have you seen a change?
In
the actions and the activity of men, the unwanted, inappropriate grabbing and groping and those type of things like that. Have you seen a change post Me Too movement?
Celebrity wise, yeah. Acknowledgement.
I was gonna say I can only from my own personal environments, and I think I've said this when we've had another conversation. And not that this is fair to women. We should be able to be wherever we want to be in whatever environment we want to without having to worry about things like that. But I have put myself in environments and around people that I don't have to worry about those things as much. And that's just what I did for myself personally. So I have not over the last decade really experienced those type of things where I definitely did in high school. Definitely did coming out of high school and, going to the club, things like that. But over time, those things are traumatic. And I kind of just remove myself from all environments where I would have to experience anything like that. So that's just me.
Jump in, Stacey.
I would say I've experienced all of those things. There's a known there's known statistics about the adultification of little brown and black girls, and I've experienced a ton of stuff. Before all this coronavirus hit, I host events in town. I run a venue and on the east side, and I encountered a whole lot of stuff. But through my experience, there's a lot of people. I get the whole, why are you so serious? Why don't you smile? Those things that people say because I put on my look. There's a certain woods that I'm from, and and I wear it all over my face. And it's a defense mechanism, but it's because I don't want to fight, and I don't have the temperament to be grabbed on. I don't have the temperament to have people violating my personal space and my boundaries. And being that I know the world that we're in, and I know the sensibilities, not of everybody around, but of a lot of sensibilities of folks around that are out in the world that I live in. I have to put up that defense. I have to walk around here like a porcupine. or a skunk, you know. It's like I'm from that certain I'm from that certain little grove of woods, and and I mean, I'll fight somebody, and I have. And if you touch me, I'm turning around swinging. I'm that one.
And
Um,
nobody wants to do that. And nobody should be put in that situation in any situation, but certainly in a social situation. Nobody should
right,
be put in a situation to where we have to be on guard all the time.
right.
And it's not like I mean, I certainly can't speak for anybody else, but I certainly don't have a fucking circus full of men chasing me down when I walk out the door by any means, but we shouldn't have to
Lies.
be
It's
on
lies.
guard all the time. But there will always be that, one just a little too friendly, a little too handsy. And you know me. I'm friendly as shit, but don't fuck with me.
Good.
Like my energy is very, very clear. So to be able to still know that the energy I'm putting out is pretty consistent, and there's always that one person that tries to push the envelope and then thinks it's funny. It's not funny. It's just not funny. And then people wonder why. Oh, she got that what they call it, resting bitch face, or she don't want nobody to talk to her, or she's always like that. No, man, leave me the fuck alone, because that's what it's turned into for a lot of, especially single women. You know, be it somebody sliding in the inbox and saying some inappropriate foul shit, like, dude, you don't even know me, man. So you can only imagine what it's like on a personal level. And it's just, I think that most women have probably had some type of engagement, unfortunately, depending on the situations we in, some of us more than others. But hell yeah, that shit exists. And it doesn't matter what age, man. We've been getting this from elementary. I'm about to be 42. I come across men older than me, and I'm like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, so and I'm not saying that there's not, I'm not, this is not a dog on man type situation. I love men. I love good men. But this shit has to be addressed, because good men think that this shit is okay. And it's really not. And we really tired of looking at some of the men that we think that are good with a little twisty face, because some little shit be happening, and we just don't fly with that no more, man.
Nikki's point, a lot of people don't talk about this, but
Yeah.
when you are married, or if you have brothers that you went to school with, it would be way worse. The stuff that I experienced in school would have been way worse if I didn't have a brother who was a year and a half older than me. You are protected. People will
Right.
just do certain things because they're scared of what may happen to them versus just respecting you as a woman. That's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had no brothers.
Listen, very true. Quentin can talk for that. He was still in high school with me.
Yeah.
He came up to my locker many a days and just told people to walk away.
Move around.
Yeah, we know what kind of brother you got. Well, nobody's gonna mess with you. We weren't all blessed to have brothers, unfortunately. I was lucky to have some people scared of my dad, but I didn't have no brothers. So it was me having to defend my goddamn self. And that becomes a challenge. That becomes a real challenge when you learn you kind of have to do that for the rest of your life as a woman if you want to keep yourself safe. I shouldn't have to be worried about keeping myself safe. I should just be able to be safe, man. But
so okay, so, Rhea, jump in.
Okay, so I don't know. I agree with everyone. I guess I didn't understand the question because I think I don't really compartmentalize different forms of hate or abuse. I see them all as the same, like whether it's racism or domestic violence or sexual assault. You're violating someone, you're hurting someone, and I think no matter how small you think it is, if you're hurting someone, it should be addressed. It should be just as important as something that's big, because it's affecting people and we're passing it down, generation to generation. All of our hurts. People are getting married and having trouble in the bedroom because of all the things that they've experienced from their childhood, and then they're passing it down to their kids. And I think that no matter what it is, if you're hurting someone, that should be addressed. It's just as important, no matter what form of hate it is.
I can tell you right now, Y'all are speaking almost a foreign language to me right now.
Well, this is what I would
Which
say. You're
part?
not going to cure misogyny with a hashtag. You're
Right.
not going to cure, it's embedded in our culture. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it's not going to be something where I feel like the men that follow the Me Too movement were already going to be men that would have done that anyways. I think
Right.
that the men that need to hear the message is not going to be able to receive it. And that's
Mhm.
cultural. That's what when you were saying generational, Rhea, that's important because they learn at an early age. It starts with how we assign gender roles and what is appropriate, whether pink and blue, and what a boy should do, not cry. Those things are embedded in our kids and it plays out and surface throughout our lives. So a hashtag is not going to cure that. That's going to have to be culturally changed. That's the way I see it.
What about this as a foreign language to you, Q? And I'm just, and
All
obviously
of
we
it,
spent
yeah.
a lot of time having
No, no, no.
conversation.
All of it is it's foreign because you are speaking about. I feel like the white guy in the room right now who just is totally blind to reality. And it's
Wow.
like all of these things that you're saying, and keep in mind, for example, I don't see these things either with
Right.
Ivory, with you, Nikki. You know I don't let no bullshit fly. With anybody who's ever been around me, y'all know I don't let that fly. So I don't see it. But I know from a multitude of testimony that it does happen when there is not, when there may not be that type of presence around. But even to hear you talk about it in the way and to the extent that you do, I never see it and I don't get it. I ain't gonna say I don't get it, but it's so foreign to hear people speak that strongly about something that I feel like I'm around a lot of you a lot of the time, and I never see it. So it's go ahead, jump in, Stacey.
That goes back to what Nikki was saying at the beginning: is the opportunist. People do what
Right.
they can get away with if they know. Like Sister Denise was saying, and Ivory was saying, if you've got somebody to look after you, if you've got somebody who will stand up for you and speak for you, then these opportunists are not as likely to take advantage of a situation. If you don't, then sometimes stuff happens. I mean, I'm the oldest of my siblings, and when I'll tell you a little bit about myself, if you don't mind. When I was growing up, they used to call me the brute because the only time I ever came outside was to fight. That was it. I was a musician. I was in theater, and I read books. That's what I did growing up. People didn't like me because I was too serious, and I didn't tolerate any disrespect or anything like that because of what I went through from a very, very early age. And so I drew my lines in the sand early, like 7 years old, um, and I got all kinds of hell for it, all through all through high school, all through middle school, because I would fight. Because if you touched me, I would fight. If you hurt my little sister or my little brother, I would fight because we didn't have anybody else to do it. It was me. And so I took that and I carried it and I took it with me for my whole life. I've been fighting what does she say? I've been fighting my whole life. I'll kill him dead before I left. but that's real. I mean, that's real. Um, and I shouldn't have to be that way. And like Rio was saying, it's true. It affects a lot of things because it's really hard to let somebody stand up for you and be there for you when you've never had anybody do that. And when you've always had to fight for yourself, when you've always been in situations where people were trying to get at you. And I'm only 5'1". You can't tell that on these Zoom meetings, which I love. But I'm only 5'1". And so people have literally been coming up to me and grabbing me and picking me up off the ground since I can remember. And that's not okay, So I got a complex about it. But we shouldn't have to do it if we don't have somebody like you around. And I've got some male friends and I've got some female friends too that I love rolling with because I know like nobody's going to say a word if I'm showing up with these people. But it shouldn't be like that. And the reason you don't see it is because you don't allow it. And if there was more people like you that would not allow it, that would say something, that would speak up to their idiot homeboy who's doing some dumb stuff, then there'd be much less of it. Because we can say it all day long, and we have been saying it all day long, but until their peers say that is not okay, we're not going to have any change. It's like we need more people to stand up, more brothers, more men to say, this is not how you're going to treat the women around me anyway, and don't ever tell me anything about it if you want to keep my respect.
Straight
Well, let
up,
me ask.
brother.
Let me jump back in because I think, and let me go to Tierra and then I'll go to Destiny. For me, I think that men have a different insensitivity to a lot of things because most men deal with similar things on a different level. We a lot of men, we're not you know, attacked in a sexual nature like that, but we are bullied, we are beaten up. When we, even in high school, we get tripped and pushed and punched in the chest and talked about real bad. It was a very select few people who didn't really get messed with. The majority of people, whether when you was a freshman, the juniors, I mean, you always, and it was one of those things, fight back, man up. Fight back, man up. That's it. Either you get ran over or you gonna stand up for yourself. And we take that same mentality even when it comes to other things. And I think for me, I would say what I feel the worst about hearing all of you speak right now, what I feel the worst about is I realize that I am not much different than these people that you talk about. Now,
I was waiting for that.
all of you, I mean, for those of you who know me, you wouldn't be on this live with me if I've ever tried anything crazy with any of y'all. I know that. And I know that I haven't. I'm not that type of person. But for me, and maybe that goes back to my original question when you talk about the thoughts versus the actions, because there's a lot of things. So for me, there's things that I could do or provoke in thoughts with some of these things. I've never molested anybody. I've never raped anybody. Coerced. I'm not sure. I got to get more into coerced. But just regular, playful, unwanted attention that I may have done. I didn't look at that as a threat because I know who I am. And I'm not even talking, this could be high school, early 20s, early 30s. I don't know. Anytime I was single, I don't know. So you live differently when you're not even single. But I don't perceive it as a threat because I know how far I would go. So I could do something to mess with somebody and I'm like, I know I would never actually do anything to hurt them. But the person who I'm doing that, or if I've ever done that to somebody, they don't know how far I'm willing to go. They don't know the extent of how far I would take something. So something that I can think is light or playful or of no consequence, this other person could take it totally different and be terrified and be scared because they don't know how far I'm gonna take something. And I think that's the part, out of everything that y'all saying, that's the part that scares me the most. Go ahead, Denise.
I think something that you have to recognize too is it's not about the fear that I could be raped that is the problem with the unwanted touching. You're touching me. I don't want you to touch me. That's a violation. Period. Going to try to rape me or not doesn't matter. Did it? That's the problem. And so I think men have to understand. It's like, I don't know if you ever heard Dave Chappelle talk about walking around with like 20,000.
Yeah. That was a good joke.
When he said that, I was like, oh,
it was real, yeah.
Somebody, and if people knew that you always had that amount of money on you, do you feel safe?
Right.
No, you don't. That's what it is to be a woman, but add a little bit more to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
I think the reality is, I'm sorry.
And,
I thought.
sorry, go ahead.
You're not going to want to walk down the street at night by yourself. You may not even want to walk down the street in the day with your headphones in because everybody wears a mask now. So if somebody scoops you up and throws you in a van, we don't know what happened. it's levels to the trauma that women deal with daily just because the fear of always having to kind of be like this, not wanting to really be at home alone, like little stuff like that that's just always there that we somehow just learn to live with. So it's deep.
Tiara, jump in.
I was gonna say, when you started off, when you brought it back, I feel like males do experience, but because it's celebrated, it's seen as, yeah, high five. She, you know, she groped you, or she touched on you and things like that, that they're not identifying it as abuse. They think it's more of, they reward it, or they reward themselves in their mind because, oh yeah,
it's normalized. It's totally
yeah, so
normalized.
I think, right. So I think it, to say it doesn't happen to men, I think that's not entirely true. I believe it happens to men, but because it's, and that's why I say we treat boys and girls differently. We celebrate it for boys. Oh yeah, you slept with a lot of women, or the high school teacher touched on you, or your babysitter, you slept with your babysitter, and they don't see that as abuse. You know, like Bootsy said with his child, he had an older woman give his child fellatio or whatever, and he didn't see that as abuse because it was a boy. But if you ask the same question of would he allow older man to do that of his daughter, he would say hell no. So I think it does go on. I just think men still celebrate it, as opposed to seeing it as a problem, a real problem what women do.
Hold on a second. Yeah, that's Destiny. Jump in real quick, and then I want to get to Ivory. I'm just moving around a little bit.
Yes, because this is even coming from my perspective. Like, I'm still a college student out there by myself in West Texas. So from my perspective, I'm seeing all these things more so because growing up, I feel like my family was very protective of me. So I didn't really see a lot of things that people were talking about. But going out to college, you hear about things all the time, like people getting raped out here at that party, this party, people slipping things into people's drinks. And then on top of that, people were like being like kidnapped at some time. So you're like, now as a college student, I think you're more aware of everything that's going on, especially even with the males like going around, like you hear catcalling, you hear all that. And even when I told people that I don't like it, people were like, why? Is it like that's something supposed to be good? And I tell them, like, it doesn't feel good. How would you like someone to do that to you? Like, even though I'm a female, that should not be praised for anything, because it's not positive. It's not a positive praise.
And that's why I miss it, because it happens to me too, but it's like, whatever. Them cougars down there, that man, it comes along. You know, you get attention from the people you want, and sometimes you get attention from people you don't want. It's like, it just comes, and see, that's one of those things to where a man will brush it off, and we just look at it different. And in those cases, we have a harder time seeing your plight. Hold on just a second, Stacey. Ivory, jump in real quick, and then I'm gonna get.
Yeah, I was actually going where you're going, Quentin. That it is still a little difficult because there is some playfulness that's welcome, right? When you, well, I wanted to say when you're single, but for some people when they're not single. But when you're single and you see somebody you like, right, and they playing around, like there's some of that that's welcomed if they don't go too far. As a woman, you don't, even if you like somebody, you don't want to meet them and they smack you on your butt. Like, that's just unacceptable.
And all the other people
like
you observing and taking that as an invitation too, and it ain't an invitation for them.
But I know there's some women, if they like the person, that's okay when they meet them. So I mean, to be fair, not to ridiculous things, but to be fair to some men who are not just creeps, it can be hard, depending on what lady you're dealing with, to know what's acceptable behavior. Because with this lady, you did it and it was a giggle. And then this next one all out cussed you out, you know, like,
you better find out what lady you dealing with.
You better find out what
lady. On that lady shit. But you better find out what lady you got.
To the other point, you know, I know it does happen to men too, and you guys just, even when it's unwanted, y'all just kind of like, it's just like no big deal. Y'all just like brush it off. You know, I remember was somewhere and I came up behind my husband and he like moved to the side. And I was like, who be coming up on you? He like, man, people out here crazy. I was like, why'd you have to move like that? He's like, I'm just, you never know. You just stuff be happening. It'd be crazy. I'm just like, whoa. But I didn't even know, because he never even mentioned it. It's like, that's just what happened. Chicks is crazy. And that was it. I was like, okay.
Some stories. But
See?
okay. I'm telling you. Go jump in, Stacey.
So what I was saying, I think that the major difference is very much like racism. Is the consequences of that thought process, the results, the implications of that thought process. If a woman, and I'm not saying that it's okay under any circumstances at all, but if a woman comes up and grabs a man, the chances of her being able to cause any real harm beyond that emotional and physical initial violation of invading his space are much more slim. And I don't know how big you are, or how tall you are, whatever, but if I'll just say this, if a woman walks up to any man and gropes him, if that's as far as that man wants it to go, that's as far as it's going to go 9 times out of 10, because the man will be able to overpower the woman physically to stop her from doing what it is that he doesn't want done. With women, that is not the case all the time. Now, many of us have training. Many of us have been dealing with, we're prepared to handle situations. But the possible implications are much worse for a woman who is being violated than they are for some adult men. Of course, with young people and children, it's different.
Right.
But if a grown man wants to go and snatch up a woman, the chances of him being successful in that are much higher than if a woman wants to go and snatch up a man, if that makes sense. So
yeah, I think it's a double standard, but I'm okay with double standards.
I'm talking about science. I'm not talking about standards or emotional or how that shit feels at all. I'm talking about physical possibilities. If a grown man wants to snatch up a woman, he's going to have a higher chance of doing it than a woman who wants to snatch up a man.
I agree.
Okay.
Jump in. Yeah, I got you. No, I agree with that. Even though I still think it's a double standard, but I'm okay with certain double standards, so I don't have a problem with that.
But it's like racism. A white person can hate a black person as much as they want to, and a black person can hate a white person as much as they want to, but a white person has much more ability to exercise that hate.
And I'm still not okay with either, though. That's also one of those double standard things. Yeah. Tiara, jump in real quick.
I mean, I think everybody's kind of made that point, that males see it just as much as a woman. They have their own way of dealing with it and responding to it, again, because of culture. We were taught different things. Little boys were taught to be, you're cool, you're manly. And women were taught to be, precious and, delicate. And so, and to honor your virginity and your sexual nature, it's sacred. Where boys were more, they were encouraged to be looser. So then the response to those unwanted advances, whether a male sees it as a reward or, something of, I'm a man, women don't see it that way because culturally we have instilled those differently in our children.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I say
go ahead,
something?
Denise. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to add to what Tiara was saying because that's a really good point. If men are taught and boys are taught that it's so you can, you can have sex, and then when you're touched and you don't really look at it as a violation, it makes sense as to why you could think you could touch a woman and not look at it as a violation, because you're not given that same respect. And it is a double standard, which is wrong, because then it's essentially kind of like saying it's okay for men to be assaulted. It's okay for boys to be assaulted, even though it's twofold, because it's like, yeah, it's okay for you to have a whole bunch of sex, but then it's also saying it's okay for them to be assaulted. So if it's okay for them to be assaulted, they're going to then go out into the world and go assault because they don't look at it as assault. So I think there needs to be healing on both sides of things, because the fact is, it needs to be healing. You know, that's just the bottom line. And it's not talked about enough. So I'm glad that here that you brought that up, because that is absolutely true. Especially when, and even when it is any aspect of women's movements, there has to be. It can't just be about wanting to get like equality. It's the difference between wanting equality and wanting privileges. So I think if we're going to deal with this aspect of what women go through, then we definitely have to deal with why the mindset is that way for men and what they're experiencing to cause them to do some of the stuff that they're doing. Not all
reciprocal behavior.
I was gonna say, women are raising these boys too, so they are perpetuating the behaviors that they don't want on themselves. So we have to be mindful of women that are raising young men to raise them as you would want someone to respond to you. But I see often that not all women, but there are women out there that believe that they have to overcompensate for the lack of male, you know, in their lives. And so they perpetuate that idea of this is what a male should be. So a lot of women are raising these boys to be predators, assaulters, and these type of deviances.
I've learned a lot once again. Okay, so let me ask you this: do we want to stay here? Do we want to pivot?
Let's pivot.
Because it's going to be a sharp turn.
Pivot.
All right, Jada Pinkett gave a response. What you think? Input.
I didn't watch it because I did not listen to it. But you know, and I thought about this before we went on today. My feelings really haven't changed since last week. I still stick with that. Doesn't mean she wasn't taking advantage of him. That doesn't mean that she wasn't, you know, emotionally in a bad place and manipulating the shit out this little boy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what their situation is. I applaud them for being able to put their shit on the table and do whatever they do. I don't have $350 million problems, so I don't know what them problems look like. But at the end of the day, you know, I think that it has definitely brought some interesting conversations to people, but at the end of the day, they are two consenting adults, so it ain't my fucking business.
Rhea and Destiny, jump in. What do you think about her response?
I just heard she said it was an entanglement, but you watched it.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Like, she was like,
how bad did you think it was gonna be?
Well, I still wouldn't say it was bad, but I thought maybe they had a you know, the open relationship or the poly or something like that. But she was just saying that this happened years ago, and she was separated at the time, and, you know, going through a bunch of emotional things, and they happened to do whatever, their entanglement. and then when she got back, then they didn't talk to each other again. And I mean, I honestly didn't see it as that big a deal. I mean, who was it? Somebody keeps telling me, but it's her kid's friend. But still, he's an adult. So I think things happen. I think we're human. And I think if we shared things that gone on in our lives, we, you know, openly, we'd be like a lot less judgmental, you know, on such a situation. I think she's human. I think they were both human at the time. And, you know, things happen.
I definitely got thoughts on this. Ivory, jump in.
I got like 3 thoughts. I'm gonna say them
quickly. Go ahead, yeah.
First thought, let me start with the positive thought. It's not that big of a deal. It is just marriage, life, whatever. I applaud her in Will's relationship, that they, you know, have decided to do it forever without all those deal breakers, and that they were able to come back from a hard time. And so I thought that was beautiful. I thought them sitting at the table talking about a hard time that they overcame was just like a beautiful thing. So I love that. Second point, she was wrong for being his mentor and then that relationship transitioning to something different.
Words out of my mouth.
Because She presented herself as like an auntie, like a mother figure, like, let me help you. You know, it's like counseling, like that's it. It's unethical to be somebody's counselor and then to date them because they've been vulnerable with you in a different kind of way that makes it easier for you to take advantage of them. So I don't like that she was his mentor first and then that relationship transitioned that way. Now, what cancels it out to me, which makes this not a big deal, is you're grown, you inserted yourself into somebody's marriage, whether it seemed like it was over or not. How many times have you heard the story of people separating and getting back together? Come on, you're grown. You inserted yourself into those people's marriages. You got your feelings hurt. So some of that is still on you. I think their transgression cancels each other out. And this is just the fallout. His feelings is hurt. He kissed and told, which is really whack. But you were a mentor and you took advantage of your mentee, which is really whack. And I think they cancel each other out. That's it. That's all I got.
Denise.
Oh,
yeah, I ain't got much more to say after that, Stacey. Go ahead.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was beautiful that she was oh wait, is my connection stable? Okay.
Yeah, you good.
Okay. I thought it was beautiful just because she was being honest. And I the part that I found to be like one of the most beautiful parts is you rarely see a man stand by his wife in that way. It's usually always the woman having to stand by her man through whatever. So to see a man be able to put his ego aside and have a conversation and make her, not let her kind of skate around it, what she was saying, but make her stand in her truth. I just have a whole new level of respect for Will Smith, just that alone. And the fact that they're able to work through that and be a united front and just marriage isn't perfect and just be like, yeah, we were trying to figure it out. I don't like her. I might want to get her back, but you know what I mean? But at the same time, we're still trying to figure that out and just showing the flaws in marriage and understanding, like, when everybody's like, oh, they are goals, and now you see what goals actually look like. It's like now people can start going into relationships and marriages understanding that it really requires work. So I just feel like this was a good lesson for everybody. And I appreciate them for letting us in on that. I think that's what the Red Table is all about. It's just like, hey, I'm not perfect. These are my experiences. I'm bringing people on here who've had similar experiences or different experiences to speak to these things, and hopefully help somebody else through that in the process. So I loved it.
Good. Stacey.
I think what I respect most is the honesty and transparency. There's a ton of people that have a ton of things to say about it. You know, I mean, I've been following the posts. You know, y'all already know how I feel about it. Like, it's none of our business. You know, but like, why are we even talking about this? But like Denise was saying, the transparency of it. Like, we don't have to agree with their lifestyle choices. We don't have to agree with anybody's lifestyle choices. But we can take the lesson in the fact that these are two adults that have decided to be completely open and honest with each other. They've decided to stand by each other, and that's rare. That's rare, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to, like, we might think that that's crazy. Like, all of us might say, you know, I don't think I would let my husband date Harley Quinn, and I don't think I would let my wife date that little rapper boy, you know. But that's not our business. They came together and they decided that this is how they're going to live their life, and they are completely honest with each other. They hold each other accountable, and they love and respect each other as human beings. And I think that that is commendable. Whether we agree with how that presents is really a non-issue. We should all hope to find somebody that would love and support and accept us as a whole human separate from themselves. And that is the thing that is commendable about this. That's the thing that's commendable about it. We don't have to agree with their lifestyle choices. They're all grown. They're all grown. They're all consenting adults. Yes, I agree with the stuff that you're saying about the mentee mentor thing. That's jacked up, but she's not certified. Like, she's not on anybody's. She doesn't have. Listen, She doesn't have anybody's piece of paper that says that she's a counselor or a therapist. She had a willing heart and apparently some draws the young man wanted. And 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 I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. They were honest with each other. They were honest with each other.
Okay. Tierra.
You're probably not gonna like my answer.
I want to hear it now even more.
Okay. First of all, I think it's all publicity. Bringing this up 4 years later, all publicity.
He did have a new album coming out.
I think
immediately. Wow, how about that?
I don't care about their lives because this has been their lives for what 26 years. It's nothing new. I think what Jada gave you is acting. I believe what Will gave y'all was acting. I think August knew he was going to get publicity out of it, and they all knew they were going to get publicity out of it. I think it's great. I think it was great that they brought it up and showed everybody else in the world that you can have different type of relationships. But no one, I mean, I'm not invested in enough to care, but it's nothing new. I think it's only was brought up because it was some publicity for whether August, Red Table Talk, but everything, Jada had a great PR to give her great entanglement. And look how it just blew up. The word entanglement blew up. Like that was perfect. If I was a PR, that's the word I would give. Somebody that's paid, and Will and Jada are actors. They know damn well what was been going on. Will's been sleeping around for years. Jada's been sleeping around for years. This is no news. This is not news to Hollywood. This is just news to somebody that's on social media. But I think it was all publicity, and that's I'm in it.
Okay.
It could have been,
hold on. Let me get mine in. Let me get mine in real quick. And then I'll let y'all jump in. Okay. First of all, I like their conversation. I love their transparency. I like them coming together and just being open about what happened and not trying to hide away from it. And I could see the real love in their relationship that they have for one another. And I think that's super dope. It's super beautiful. That being said, on the flip side, I feel that Jada and even Will, they were wrong. I don't care how no matter how much I play devil's advocate when I'm talking about certain things, I am against predatory behavior. They specifically said he was sick. Whether she's a doctor, a physician, or a counselor or not, they both took on that role. We're going to help mentor this person. So when you take on that type of role, you acknowledge that he's somebody who's not well, whether it be a physical, being on drugs, mentally unstable, all of these things. So for you to turn around and to go after him, which by the way, Jada, you can have damn near anybody you want to. You didn't have to pick him. That's the same issue that I have with a lot of pastors and preachers. Why are you picking people? Why are you picking your church members? Go find somebody else somewhere else. You don't have to pick within your circle with the people that you're supposed to be mentoring. So when you dip inside of that circle, I have an issue with that. She didn't have to do that. And not only that, and normally 90% of the time I agree with what Tierra said. It's all publicity. I listened to that boy. He's seriously hurt for real. That wasn't just publicity. That was him. Literally, he was hurt. I know I've been there before in a different type of circumstance. He hurt for real. And the thing that I didn't like about that either, even after that, she admitted, yeah, we entanglement. Okay, it was a relationship, but I just wasn't in my right state of mind, basically. And then she tried to, so it's one or two things. Number one, you were a predator, or number two, now you're trying to downplay the actual relationship that you had with him. So with that, it is either one, but she wasn't being upfront about that. Say, no, we was in a relationship. I had feelings for him. We had feelings, but don't turn around and act like, I was confused, but it was still like a throwaway. Like I really didn't care about him. It was just something that I was going through at the time. So I didn't like that part of it, but it's two different things. I like their conversation, but I didn't like the way that they kind of downplayed that with him, and he's kind of left out there by himself to, I don't like that. Stacey, jump in.
How in the world could he expect her to have his back when she is married to someone else?
Like I
Like
said,
he knew going into it that she was with another man, and she wasn't just with any other man. Like
you
she
know
was
what?
with Will Smith.
I used to say that all the time when it dealt with people, because you have no idea how many stories I got up in my head when it deals with, especially in the church, when it deals with people of a higher stature, and then you talk about, well, you know what you was getting into, you were grown. I've said that so many times, but like I said, if you know better, then you do better. So when it's two people in a situation, yes, there's responsibility on both sides, but the person who knows better, I expect more out of them. And in this situation, they specifically called him sick. I expect them to do better than what they did with that boy.
So do you really think that they think that that boy was not of sound mind and body?
They called him sick.
Yeah, but do you really think that in the moment that they actually thought that?
Yes, I do. They called him sick. He's been noted that he was on drugs. I think he was in jail at one point in time. He was emotionally unstable. Yes, all of those things add up to that. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Sylvester. Jump in, Denise.
I do want to acknowledge the fact that they specifically let it be known that they put resources into helping him get well. One, two, if you feel that Jada is a predator, which I don't agree with, I think that's separate from Will. Because Will was, I don't think that was something that he was like, all right, so you gonna be with all, like, I don't think we should include him in that. I think if you have, I feel like that should just be, if you do feel like that was Jada in August's situation. That wasn't Will.
I think it was both of them, to tell you the truth.
Well, can you explain to me why
because you can have an arrangement and you can be cool with an arrangement as long as you and that person are good and y'all communicating and y'all on the same level. Once communication break down and y'all ain't cool, now the little boy toy you had or the girlfriend you had on the side, now that's no longer a good thing like it was acceptable before. That's just, I don't know, but that's just my thought on that. It was cool as long as we was good. The little side pieces that we had was all right, but when we ain't good no more, now those side pieces look like a threat, and it's no longer cool when we ain't on the same page. That's my thought. Now I don't know for sure. Anybody jump in?
I just say I'm back. I'm sorry, I cut out. I was trying to walk my dog. I don't know where you guys left off, but you already know my stance.
Right. Anybody else got any other thoughts?
I mean, being that I didn't watch either video, so I think that I'm not really probably the most qualified to speak on something I didn't watch. Just from what I've heard, from what I've read, from what people are saying, I'll play devil's advocate because I am an advocate for victims. Do I care about the basis of the relationship? I don't. Do I care about what her and her husband have in their marriage? I do not. I applaud them for being able to ride this motherfucker on out. But if in fact, she behaved predatorily, that shit needs to be called out. I'm not gonna just let her slide just because she's a woman.
I was gonna say, I think she was wrong. I feel like predator is a strong word. I would not go that far. Because she admitted, if we can believe what she was saying, that she was going through an emotionally turbulent time herself. And so sometimes two hurting people can attach themselves to one another in their hurt. And then you come out that hurt and you realize this wasn't a good idea. So I wouldn't call her predator. I don't like how their relationship started, but I feel careful judging what was going through her mind while her marriage was falling apart. And if she was completely in her right mind when that was happening too. I just want to be careful that I'm giving her some grace.
And I'm not calling her a predator. I'm saying in that situation that her behavior was of predatory behavior, number one. And then number two, like I said, I've heard that argument before. You have options.
She does,
have
but
to be.
listen,
And the other thing is, unless you really had a deep relationship or you had deep love, in which you shouldn't try to downplay it the way that you did. Kind of speak up and tell the truth about it. We was in love. Say something.
Listen, nobody's sitting at no table with their husband talking about we was in love. That's slow. You need to politically talk about your relationship. You don't need to sit at a table talking about who you was in love with when you sitting there with your husband. Not smart. It just don't do it. But I feel like she was as honest as she could be. And there is a way to be honest without being hurtful. Her saying she was in love with that little boy would be hurtful to her.
You didn't have
That's
to say
not
love,
cool.
but you could acknowledge that there were some real emotions there. It was either that or you was just you took advantage of a situation. Jump in, Stacey. Go ahead. Anybody jump in. I mean, just don't.
Well, I want to be respectful and things, but I want to talk a little bit of science with y'all real quick, if you don't mind.
Science,
biology, physiology.
Okay.
A man hits his sexual peak in his early 20s. A woman hits her sexual peak after 35. Okay? So you can't be mad at that woman.
Stop it. That ain't even relevant. That's not relevant.
No, it absolutely is. It's
not relevant to what I'm saying. You could pick another 27-year-old boy who ain't your son's friend.
And listen, her son is a Smith. Her son is everybody's friend. Everybody is her son's friend.
You giving a lot of passes out.
Listen, I'm not giving any more passes than I would give
Junior high, I
Will.
would have loved if you was the hall.
I'm not giving anybody
all kind of passes.
I'm not giving him any more passes than I'd give Will if he did the exact same thing with another grown-ass woman who is in her 20s, who is also taking advantage of an opportunity. Y'all are kidding yourselves if you don't think that August got something from that. He's able to talk about it now to sell his album. This is a mutually beneficial thing that they had.
What if August used Jaden to get to Jada? Because he knew about their relationships, with her and Will doings in Hollywood, Hollywood talks. What if he used Jaden to get to Jada? I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it did, but
they're all grown and they all benefit from it in the long run. That's just facts. He'll get over it, and so will she.
Somebody else jump in. I'm amazed. I'm seeing. Go ahead, jump in.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go
Are
ahead.
we assuming that when she entered into this relationship, he had a drug problem?
Yeah, it was stated he had a drug problem. He also, I believe,
I don't know enough about him.
No, upon entering the relationship. Now I know whenever they first met, the issue. But do we think that when they entered into this relationship that he still had this problem?
When you've taken the position of a mentor, then I think that I don't know when does it change from you being a mentor to somebody you
the therapeutic community is 2 years after therapeutic services have been ceased. Technically, but
we're using that mentor word too.
I'm hearing a whole lot of double standard talk.
No, I'm saying we're using mentor.
No.
We're using
I'm not hearing people speak against it, but I'm hearing more passes being given in this situation.
No, I'm not giving passes.
There's no passes.
I'm telling you, that's what I feel like right now. I feel like there's a lot more passes being given. And if the situation is reversed, I don't believe those same amount of passes will be given.
First of all, it happens in Hollywood. Older men with younger women all the time. So that's typical.
And I don't think passes are given to people in the same type of way.
Yes, we don't even hear about it. We don't even hear about it.
It's typical.
But
it's just different because it's a woman now.
People get with their mentors all the time.
What doesn't need to happen is Jada, let's play worst case scenario. Let's say she took complete advantage of this boy. Let's say she took total advantage of him. Let's say that happened. What doesn't need to happen is her become like the fucking crucified woman for every woman that's done some shitty shit to a man that's had his heart broken. But at the same time, there are so many variables that he was a willing participant in this relationship. So I mean, there's a lot of variables, but if she really and truly took advantage of this young man, hell yeah, she deserves the flack that she gets. But I think that a lot of people are gonna ride her extra hard because she's the only one that's come out with her shit. It's a whole bunch of other people that just haven't come out and said that the shit's going on under their roof. She allowed herself to be the spokeswoman for Entanglement 2020. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that, I mean, everybody want to throw a fucking egg at her because everybody's had a woman break their heart at some point. If she did fuck shit, let's call it what it is. But you know, there are so many variables that play a part in their dynamic that we weren't in the bed. I don't know if we'll ever know really what really happened. But if she fucked that little boy up, she manipulated him, she gonna get hers, and that's some fuck shit. It's wrong.
But she did not. She did not.
I mean, but we don't know that. We weren't there.
Listen,
I don't know.
Ivory, say something. I see the look on your face, Ivory. Say something.
Listen, I have officially crossed over into MILF and Cougar mode, apparently, because my friend, you remind me of my mama's friends. And I'm like, if you don't shut up right now. But there's 25-year-old young men running around town chasing me. And I can't tell them no. I keep on telling them no. They will not leave me alone. I keep telling them no. Like, it's not fair to say that Jada took advantage of this young man. Jada is a fine ass woman. Like,
listen, it's very fair to say that. There are a lot of older women that take advantage of younger men. There's a lot of women, period, that take advantage of people in general.
But I don't think it's fair to say that Jada took advantage of him.
I'm not going to say it didn't happen because I wasn't there. I'm going to say it's a possibility. It's a very real possibility.
He didn't say it, though. I think he's just saying that his feelings are
heartbroken.
He's still in love.
He said, I can die.
He said, I can die right now. Yes.
So he's satisfied.
That ain't so. He hurt. No, he's hurt. He's hurt.
What I'm saying is he feels like he can die. So she did not. What I'm saying is, as a 40-year-old woman, if a 25-year-old man decides that he wants to come after me, which, you know, I'm not in a position to do it, but I'm just saying, I would be horrified if somebody was like, well, she's taking advantage of him. It's like, really? He's a young man. He don't have a whole lot of sense, but because he's,
I guarantee you, if I took a 25-year-old out, I'd be taking advantage of some of that shit.
Yes, but he'd be asking you to do it though, Nikki. He signed up for it. That is why 25-year-olds go out with older women, is so that they can be taken advantage of and turned out and then left alone.
So therefore she may have.
I don't care if he was 20.
She may have.
Number one, the son introduced them. Number two, they said
by
he
default,
was
that's
sick.
no.
Even if that wasn't the case. Number two, they admitted that they felt he was sick, he needed help, and they mentored him. That takes things off of the table. I'm sorry, it takes things off the table.
What if he was the plug, Quentin?
You don't take advantage of somebody when they're ill. You don't take advantage of somebody when they're down. You don't take advantage of somebody when they're emotionally fragile. And in doing so, it does make you a bit of an aggressor.
But a lot of people will get, I will say this, there's a lot of relationships that end bad, and then you start into another relationship based on the hurt and you have those conversations and explain that to each other, and then you formulate a bond through it. So we do it all the time. As adults. We form toxic bonds based off of toxic other bonds. Yes. So I think what it is just for Jada them, she's a celebrity. And it's, everybody can judge, but no one's judging our lives.
Right.
And I guess
the neighbors on the street got the same story going on.
I guess where I'm getting caught up and where it's an area of contention for me is like, Nikki's a clinician, right? She has therapeutic relationship with folks. I'm a clinician, or not a clinician, but I have therapeutic relationship with individuals as well. And so I'm fully aware of those boundaries and those lines that you do not cross. But I'm having a hard time. Like, I feel like she might have been saying that just to kind of justify that she wanted this young brother, I don't know what 25-year-old is not crazy. And no offense to young people present, but what 25-year-old young man is not still trying to figure out everything, not still trying to find his place in the world? What 25-year-old woman is not still trying to find her place in the world and understand this vessel that we are in is a weapon and a tool? Like, I don't.
It kind of further goes along with what I'm saying. Jump in, Ray. What are you saying?
I have grace, and I think that a lot of people build bonds with their mentors. And honestly, I don't see the difference between the men and the women. Like, for instance, Celine Dion, who formed a relationship with her manager, and they were married and until his death, like in love. I mean, it happens. And then when you think you're going through a divorce, you're separated from the person that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with. Your emotions are heightened. You're not thinking straight. You just want to feel love and acceptance. You're out there just looking for something. And I think that's a hard time to deal with. It's hard for us to be so judgmental and say she should be thinking straight at that time when her whole life is falling apart. She should be setting all these boundaries when she's just, her life is falling apart. I've been there, you know, you make decisions that maybe you might not have otherwise made. But I see giving her grace in this situation, especially the fact that he is grown and you form bonds with people and you can get feelings for them when you form bonds with them, no matter how old they are. Well, for me, it does matter to some extent, but you're gonna form bonds and you're not always in the right. I think we're human again.
Destiny, jump in real quick. You go. What you think of Destiny?
So I agree with the same thing. Like I really don't see. I think I don't see the problem with it. If you want to be with somebody, you mess around. I think my mom explained perfectly. When you're going through that, you're not in your, I guess, right mind. So even coming from my perspective, it was an older man. I felt like that goes into gender roles. I'm gonna go into that right now. But if we're genuinely in love, then we're gonna just stick together and defy the odds. Like people are always gonna look at it as wrong if it's between. I think if there's a great difference between ages, and I don't think that's anyone's business. If you want to be with somebody, go and be with somebody. I'm like Jada and their relationship. I don't really care because that's their relationship. Like I think someone said perfectly. I'm not there. If they wanted to do that, what they did with their life, I just think their life is being publicized because they are celebrities. But I should, upon reflection, I'm just concentrating on me more so, on my life, my relationships. Like we can try to compare similarities and differences, but at the end of the day, hey, like you were saying, that happened a long time ago. Why are we? Because August came out. That's why we're talking about it now. Because if he didn't, we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's old.
He whacked for that too. That's why I said they cancel each other out. He's so whack. You don't kiss and tell.
No, you don't. If I was talking to him, then he's definitely wrong
whack for that. Like I disagree with how she went about the relationship. I think they canceled each other out because you still were a part of, accepted into their circle. And you know that they're high profile. And to me, whether you was sick or not, I don't think it
cancels each other out though.
I do think it cancels each other out. You were in their circle. You know they're high profile. You said you care for this person. You know she's high profile. No matter how you're feeling, you know she's separated. She's not divorced. And you inserted yourself into that relationship. And when it doesn't work out, you don't go run and tell about it 4 years later.
No,
like,
you don't
that's
go run and
really,
tell about it.
really, really whack. So, but a little bit, something else I wanted to bring up that's hypocrisy to me is looking on social media, like, and all these videos and memes talking about like Will being embarrassed or they can't believe this. I'm just like,
no, this is old news to them. This is old news to them.
Well, and not even that. Like, how often do men cheat on their wives? Like, high profile men cheat and have break babies and all this kind of stuff, but you don't have to hear all this, oh my God, did you see her face? And oh my, like, that's whack too. Like, that is some sexism. Like, there's a lot of sexism.
Well, no, people are projecting themselves on him because if it were them, they would be embarrassed and their ego would be bruised to a point that they wouldn't know how to deal with that. So a lot of people are just projecting
a lot of
they
men
would feel.
Are projecting, yes, them,
right.
But they don't do that when it's a woman. They don't just step into human shoes and say, oh man, that's an embarrassing situation. They don't make the same comments for women who are going through a situation where their partner had a indiscretion. They don't feel any way about how she should be feeling. But people are really, like, men are really in their feelings about thinking how Will should be processing this right now. And that's
Right,
been really
most
whack
people
to
are gonna
me.
look at it from their perspective. So, like in the Kobe Bryant situation with his wife, they looking like, how you gonna fix this? And now they're trying to think of ways, how would I be able to fix this if I was in a situation? More and more out of anything I've learned, people look at things in a way that they put themselves in the situation if it were them and they project, or if they're not able to do that, then they become kind of ignorant and dumb, like a lot
Well,
of
this is
people are.
where maybe to me it's a double standard, and maybe women are too empathetic to men. I think in the situation, women empathize both ways. If we see a woman got
Oh, I
cheated
don't
on
think
or
so.
indiscretion, we say, "Oh man,
I
that
don't think
probably
so.
feels so terrible." If we see it happen to a man, "Oh man, that feels so terrible." I feel like men only empathize
No,
one way.
I can tell by the tone of the conversation, even tonight, that we don't look at it exactly the same way when the roles are reversed. And people can say things in spirit,
Well,
yes,
I'm
this is
sorry,
wrong, but the tone of
I
it.
do. I can't speak for
Okay.
all women. I do.
Okay, so we 12 minutes past. This is a great conversation. Anybody got any last things to throw in?
Yeah, Ivory, you look great, girl. I'm like, hold on now. I mean, you always cute, but you came with some extras today. I said, hold on, I gotta give her flowers. Oh, and this
Listen,
guy,
I have to record a video for a poem tonight, so I had to put on my makeup and stuff. But thank you.
speaking of poems, if y'all didn't watch her poem, please watch it. It's powerful.
Is it on Free Thinkers? Did you put it on Free Thinkers
Yes,
too?
I did. Yep.
Did you?
It's
Okay,
posted on here.
okay. I'll have to look at that.
And I'll repost it.
Is it on YouTube?
Not only that, she has a book, Love is Horribly Wonderful. And not when you get a chance, you just gotta go. She got a Father's Day poem that almost put me into it. She's super dope. She is like super
Thanks, brother.
Like I told her maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I said, even when it comes to that, I'm not even your bro, I'm just a fan of yours when I see her work. So check, let people know how to find your stuff. Even with your book and stuff like that, just post it on the page.
Okay, I will.
Please. What else you got going on? I've been rocking your song on a regular basis. It's in my rotation.
Bought it.
Yeah. I'm just being very patient, and working on what I want to do next. If I want to put out a visual, if I just want to put out some more music. But I like super. I'm not even a perfectionist, as I am like a feelingnist. Like all the feelings have to be there.
And speaking of that, where do we go to find a lot of your? Do you have live performances? Because I can imagine that your live performances got to be pretty nice.
I'm gonna start doing some, but I haven't done any yet. But I'm gonna start doing some.
Okay, I can imagine.
Remember when she left us, Q? She was a college student. Shit.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't no college student. She been Denise been fooling everybody for a long. Everybody thought she was 20.
She left us to go to the big city.
Yeah.
And then COVID shoot.
Right.
No shows. But yeah,
what you got going on, Stacy?
Where's your page at? You got Spotify, right? You're on different platforms.
Yeah, I'm on everything, but it's not under my name. It's under Imani, which means faith.
Imani. How do you spell that?
IMANI.
There you go.
What you got going on, Stacy?
I had a new talk show.
Oh shoot, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Now, where can we? When is it airing, and where can we find it
at? The Hash with Stacy Shea, and it's on. I've got a website that's under construction. I've got a YouTube channel, and I also have a Facebook page. I'll be having weekly virtual shows every Friday,
nice.
where I'll be interviewing, and I actually sent you a message, I think, but where I'll be interviewing prominent community people and chatting with them, because I got a lot of really cool friends, y'all included, and the whole premise is I don't have a filter at all, and so I'll get to talk with my friends about what's going on, and we'll be able to get some really cool perspective, and it was kind of a request that people were making because I take up so much space on these discussion forums. So they're like, you need your own podcast. You know? And so I did it, and so now it's a thing. And so my whole deal is just to promote all of my friends that are doing really cool stuff. Because I mean, I've done some cool stuff, but not near as cool as the stuff that my friends have done. And so that's the stuff that the focus of my show is.
Cool. Well, we'll support you 100%. Feel free to pub. Also, you know, share your videos, your content, share it to free thinkers. I will invite everybody to everything that you're doing. And speaking of, I see Tierra has Tierra Talks on Thursdays. I regularly watch or attend. This is super dope and intelligent show that I watch, that I partake in. And she, you know, she has a wider range, especially.
I listened to the last one. It was good.
Yeah, in the political arena, and I mean, she just has a wide range of knowledge. Tell us where people can find Tierra Talks and what you got going on, Tierra.
You can follow me on Tierra Shaw. You can go through the hashtag on Facebook. Tierra Talks Thursdays. It's Thursdays at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I know a lot of people are in the Central Standard Zone. So it'll be 8 p.m. Central Standard Zone. I will tag this into Free Thinkers, and I always tag Quentin as long with that. We will be tackling the angry Black woman title that they give us. So we're gonna get into that and why they label us as angry Black women. So
it's Thursday.
This is gonna be good. This
Thursday.
is gonna be good,
and even her the last one I posted on Free Thinkers as well, and I always you know, pub that up. So yep, check her page out. I put in notices on Free Thinkers. And speaking of, if y'all haven't seen Ray, I'll let you talk about whatever you want to talk about. When I tell you, she is a super dope artist like you've never seen in your life. If I'm not even going to explain it, but Ray, where can people find your artwork at?
There's a lot on my Facebook page, but then also my website, phoenixartstudio.net, which I'm revamping, so don't judge yet.
No, we're gonna judge. I'm telling you, look at her work. It is incredible. If you want to get self-portraits, whatever you're thinking of, if you want to get art and design for probably some of y'all web pages and probably mine, I'm thinking about stuff already. She is incredible. I see why her and her husband are together. They are both artists in different ways, and I know why they I know why they mix well, because they definitely are mad scientists and geniuses when it comes to artistry in their own rights, in different ways. So that's what's up. Nikki, what you got going on?
I ain't painting no pictures. I ain't taking no pictures. I'm not.
She just fighting the fight.
Books,
wherever it's a fight, she gonna be there somewhere. You
can find me in this kitchen all day, every day. Dessert House. Look it up on Facebook. You can come to your kitchen and you get fed. That's where I'm at. That's where my lab is in this kitchen.
And may I interrupt? What else do you do, Nikki? What population do you work with when you're not doing all this other great stuff that you do?
Oh, the ones that most people don't. The addicts and the alcoholics and the folks that are the brokenest of the brokenest. So, you know, trying to help people put their shit back together. So we trying to do some things around here. Educate, heal, feed, all in love, you know, but yeah, we trying to do some things. So there's some things in the works, but I'll be in the kitchen in the meantime.
Yeah, Nikki do so much she don't even think about what she be doing. She just wherever it is, she just superwoman. Wherever there needs, wherever help is needed, then she gonna be around there somewhere. So
I appreciate that, boo boo.
Destiny.
What are you doing?
I'm just doing Free Thinkers. That's all.
You be on every show though. Every time I'm on Facebook, you're on a live show. I said, Q ain't never off the internet.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah.
And your birthday's on Friday.
Oh yeah, my birthday on Friday.
Birthday!
Leo season, baby. Leo season coming up.
I'm a Cancer, but that's
all right. Leo season's coming.
Yeah.
You tell him it's the big 4-0?
It's the big 4-0.
Oh, okay.
I'm done.
Yeah, all right. Well, my sister made me blush. Destiny, what you got going on?
Well, right now I work in the advertising business right now. for also for the aero sign spinning business. So if you see any sign spinners, if you want to recruit or if you want some from your businesses, just let me know. That's why I do advertising. Just on break from school, and I might NAACP. I'm actually going down like next week because we're trying to change the name of one of the schools, and they asked for our help because I'm the NAACP president at my school, so I'll be traveling for that. And gonna actually do a little. I've been inspired by everyone. I want to do my own little YouTube channel. Discussions with Desi, so we'll see how that goes.
Cool. And like I said, I want to, and even with people, I want to build networks with people because, like, even what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from a lot of people, this is podcasts, live shows. This is the new thing. This is where people are going. People are, people pulling the plug. I used to work with internet and cable. People pulling the plug on cable. They're not as interested in TV. They're interested in what they have their own interests, and there's a market for everything. So share free thinkers, build it up, and not only that, I want you to partake in it if it benefits you. So as you, because it's to last few days, it's just been people, I don't even know half of these people, but they just been asking for invites. So invite people. Anything that you're doing, put it on, share it. If you have videos, if you want to, I don't care if it's your pilot runs, whatever, put it on Free Thinkers. Also keep sharing your posts. I just want to build it up so we can be a network of people that help each other. So this platform, like I keep saying, is never designed for me and Nikki to run anything. This is designed to be a platform for everybody. So however you see it fit, use it. But outside of that, thank y'all for coming on. I'm 23 minutes past. I guarantee I will not go that long past the next time. I'm going to make sure we cut off at an hour and a half.
All right.
So, good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, y'all.